Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 1995 Mazda 323F. Up front is a 1.8 liter inline 4 and down below is a 5-speed manual transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this here 323F because I'm almost positive you've never seen one, because until today I hadn't seen one either. This is a super rare car and we'll talk about why a little bit later on. But before we get on to anything else, I have a website, zackpradel.com, where you can buy stickers like this retro sticker pack I have available, or a big friggin' bottle sticker, both with free shipping worldwide. You could also submit your own vehicle to be reviewed by me through a quick and easy submission form. Again, you could submit from anywhere in the world. And you could read my behind the scenes blog to see what I'm filming before it comes out on the channel. But let's get back to the 323F. Why is this car so rare? Well, it was never sold here in the United States. We did get the 323 here, but it was just a little sedan or a little hatchback. It wasn't anything too crazy, but overseas in Europe, they got this, the 323F, which was a hatchback. It came with the Miata engine, which we'll get to in a second, and just overall was a more sportier feel. They also had this in Japan, but it was called the Mazda Lantis. So this is super rare. According to the owner, there's only 5 of these in the United States, only 2 of which are left-hand drive because this was actually imported from Germany and not the UK. So this is a left-hand drive Mazda 323F, which I promise you is the only one you'll see today. Let's get back to that 1.8 liter under the hood. It makes about 130 horsepower maybe. It's a BP engine 1.8 from Mazda, which is shared with the second half of the NA Miata and of course the NB Miata. It's a fantastically peppy little engine and an absolute blast to drive. Is this car fast? No, but its driving dynamics feel very Miata. Like I said, paired to a 5-speed manual transmission, super light and easy throw. The clutch is super friendly, shifting it feels great, and the nice thing is that yes, it's low powered, but you can just beat the snot out of this thing and you're not really breaking any rules, which is just fantastic. Now, this car is also front-wheel drive, as to be expected from any 323. However, I do want to note something about the mechanics of this car. Like I said, this car is incredibly rare. And so you might think working on it is a nightmare, but it's actually really not. Like I said, it shares an engine with a Miata, which is a very popular engine here in the States. That's not hard to get parts for. The suspension is all from a Mazda Protege, a car that we got here. That's not hard to get parts for. The transmission is actually from a Ford Escort ZX2, which was sold here and not hard to get parts for. And so while yes, this is a strange imported car, you actually can buy a lot of parts for it at your local auto parts store, which is just fantastic. But getting away from the mechanics, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 4 gauges. On the left is my tachometer, in the center is my speedometer, in kilometers, of course, because this is a German domestic market vehicle. And off to the right, I have my fuel and coolant temperature. Then to the far right, I do have warning lights, but that's pretty much it. Down below the gauges, I have my fog lights on the left and my gauge dimmer switch on the right. The steering wheel does in fact have an airbag, very nice, and 2 little horn buttons. Gotta love a 90s horn. Down below, sort of on the steering housing, I have this really funky Sony installed unit. This is for the 6-disc CD changer that's in the trunk, or is supposed to be in the trunk, which is just a cool 90s quirk. Off to the left of me, I have a climate control vent, and then on the door, I have my lock and unlock, power windows. The front windows are power, and my child lock. But then I also get this giant storage cubby, which is fantastic. But also, you might be looking at this, where do you grab the door to close it if there's that giant cubby? Well, there's actually this little handle, which I keep missing, so you can grab the door and close it. Very weird placement here in the 323F. Moving into the center, I have 2 climate control vents, and I have my defroster, hazard switch, and digital clock. And then I have my climate controls. Very basic here, however. That's what I would expect out of Mazda in the 90s. These buttons do feel pretty cheap, very thin plastic, and it's parts like this where I would start to get worried with the 323F because we didn't get a car with this interior, so finding interior parts is going to be your biggest struggle if you end up buying a 323F. Then of course I have an aftermarket radio because every radio from the 90s was terrible and has to be switched out. especially for a foreign market vehicle because they don't get our radio stations. And then down below that, I have my 12-volt outlet and my ashtray. Then I have the shifter itself. This is an aftermarket Momo shifter. However, I think it does fit the feel of the car. Then I get my handbrake and center console, meaning there are no cup holders in the 323F, so unfortunately, it fails the big friggin' bottle test. Something else I love about the interior is that the dashboard and door cards are this kind of bluish greenish aqua. It's hard to notice at first, and when you're driving, you don't really think about it, but they're not all black. Yes, the steering wheel and center bezel's black, but the outside is actually this bluish greenish, and I love it. Now, the seats are very, very basic. They're not the most comfortable things in the entire world. However, they are fine. They're what I expect out of a Mazda from this era. You have to remember, Mazda has never really had that much money. They've always had to build their cars in a very smart way to get around the fact that they don't have as much money as their competitors. Toyota and Honda far outsell Mazdas, always have for the foreseeable future, always will. So while the seats are basic, they're functional, and that's not really the whole point of this car. But speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a backseat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 1995 Mazda 323F, and it's a compact. I don't really fit well back here. That's not really a surprise. What is sort of interesting is that it does have a little bit of Dodge neon in it, in the fact that the front windows are power, but the rear windows are crank. Remember what I just said about the front seats? Mazda didn't have a whole lot of money in the 90s, and they were mostly owned by Ford at the time. Ford had the controlling share, and a lot of these cars contain a lot of Ford parts, like I said about the transmission, but also Ford didn't want to spend all their money on Mazda. They wanted to spend it on Ford. So they sort of left a lot of the 90s Mazdas with very basic features. That's okay, you know, saving weight. You know, let's just leave it at that. I do get a center console back here. It's just a brick. That's it. There's no cup holders or anything like that. Let's go hop around back and talk about the hatch, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, so we're on the back of the 323. I apologize. It's a little windy on this Mother's Day morning. However, come around here, pop it open like that. I do get a little cargo cover, which is very nice. And then I do get a hatch. Nothing crazy back here. I do get a light over there. And I apologize, it is super windy just all of a sudden here. But there we go. That is the hatch. Nothing crazy. The second row does fold down. The rear seats do fold down, which is very, very nice. And this is a huge perk of the 323F. It's actually a very usable car. Not only is it a four-door, but it's also a hatch. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and this is the most captivating part of the car, at least for me. It doesn't look like anything we got here on American roads. First of all, take a look at the nose. It kind of looks like a Nissan NX a little bit. And look at the taillight, this big wraparound taillight, the single rear fog light, as well as single rear reverse light. Very, very European. And it has that nice 323F badge, but let's do a walk around. I love this color, very, very 90s. And overall, I love how interesting, crazy, and unique this car is. And so let's get on to my final thoughts. Beyond my nerdiness of how cool and unique and different this car is, how does this car actually drive? How does it perform? What is it like to drive a Mazda 323F? Well, it's fantastic. It's not high horsepower. It's not even really mid-range horsepower, if I'm being honest. But it handles and drives so much like an NA or NB Miata, but it also has four doors. It's a hatchback. It's something you can live with. I know I'm on the highway now, but let's hit some twisties. Woo! I mean, it's just a blast. Rowing it through the gears, hearing that BP sing its familiar, comforting tune. I love it. This really is a four-door Miata. And again, I don't say that because it just has a Miata engine, but it really genuinely feels and drives. It has the dynamics of a Miata. That's the biggest thing. Oh yeah. It's really a shame that we didn't get these in the States. I feel like this would have done really well. It's so fun to drive. It's useful because it has four doors and it has that hatch, which is a fantastic, lovely feature. And it's just good, solid, low horsepower fun. It really makes me wonder what a USDM 323 is like. If you have a 323, especially if it's a GTX or GTR, please let me know. Email me or submit to my website up on the screen right now. I would love to get behind the wheel of a more USDM one or any of these other special 323s. I'm falling in love with these. They're just fantastic, and I'm really curious about the other ones. But thank you so much to Michael for letting me take out this one. This is such a cool experience and something that a lot of my peers have not experienced, which is always such a cool feeling. Michael has been absolutely awesome to work with. I'm so thankful for him letting me take out his 323F, and I'm sure you guys appreciate watching it as well. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.